Green Lantern is a DC character who has a decently sizable rogues gallery with many different villains coming from space or Earth. However, a lot of the stories that do tend to interest me when it comes to the Lantern Corps in general, well, is space. I've always seen these characters as a window into the rest of the universe to deal with other storylines. Now, it doesn't really matter what Green Lantern you want to start with here, whether it is Hal Jordan or John Stewart, or if you even want to get very crazy with it and make Kyle Rayner the first human lantern. Like I always say, it all depends on how you write it. Whoever the main character of this story is, though, we will just simply call the person Green Lantern. But you have waited long enough. In my opinion, and at least in the terms of the story I created, the first ideal villain for Green Lantern is Red Lanterns, or Atrocitus. Roughly, the origin story of Atrocitus and the creation of the Red Lantern Corps would be kept similar, just with a couple of changes. Because I think the Red Lantern origin, the planet Eastmalt, the massacre they had to go through, it's such a great storyline. I think a lot of heroes going up against their villains do usually tend to find that the relationship between them is because the villain does not like them in some sort of capacity. And that would still feel very similar for this storyline. However, his hatred for the Green Lanterns comes off as an extension because of how much he truly despises the Guardians. The biggest reason why I like Atrocitus being the first villain, the origin, the story, the history of what Atrocitus has gone through to become a Red Lantern, and what he sees in the future. It's almost a beginning of the end type of story, and I really like that type of archetype. Just like in the origin when Atrocitus and only 4 other survivors survived the assault of the Manhunters who rampaged Sector 666, him and the 4 survivors create a small terrorist group called the 5 Inversions, and their dedication is to destroy the Guardians of the Universe, and just more than likely anything that comes with them. They perform a magical ritual which allows them to slightly peek into the future, in which they do discover the prophecy of the Blackest Night. Essentially, what I would do here is their hatred for the Guardians of the universe is true. It's real. He wants nothing but death for them, because if it weren't for the Manhunters they created, Eastmalt, the rest of his people, his wife, and his child would not have had to have undergone the horror that they went through. There's a couple of interesting things that I do find about this story. Green Lantern, whether it be Hal or John, yes, has already been trained in the ways of Green Lanterns, but does not have a suitable villain from his rogues gallery that he has gone up against yet. And now he is going to be faced up against someone like Atrocitus, who is no joke, who is one of the strongest, not just Red Lanterns in the universe, one of the strongest lanterns in general. He's going up against an emotion that is literally very emotional. Everything about rage and anger is on the surface. It's all through power. That is not someone who's going to be easy to take down, let alone fight, especially when you don't have the utmost experience fighting other lanterns. The actions they take are evil. Anything they do, rampaging through other people and killing them all themselves, their abilities, spitting, puking, firing out blood, their hearts, in which they view a useless organ in their body, replacing it with the power and the energy of a Red Lantern ring, putting their bodies through a transformation, because Atrocitus is so dedicated to destroying the Guardians of the Universe, he almost does not care how much evil he needs to put himself through. What I wanted to do is, even though Atrocitus is the clear bad guy, the motivation for going after the Guardians of the Universe does not just stop at simply, your Manhunters murdered my family and practically all of my people. It goes a little deeper than that. he's actually using his rage and anger for the Guardians because of the prophecy he saw with the Blackest Night event, almost viewing them as the reason why the Blackest Night will eventually happen in the future, which will also result in millions, billions, possibly even trillions more people dead in the universe. Whereas Atrocitus is in a situation where he is out for blood, he's literally out for each of their heads. He's actually hoping to get to the Guardians in hopes to save the rest of the universe. He's just going about it the wrong ways. But of course, when you are angry, when you are rageful, especially at the amount he is, you don't ever see things clearly. Now, I think what would be very interesting, Atrocitus learning a lot of the evil truths of the Guardians of the Universe, you could potentially play with this idea, and it's something I would definitely do, that the Guardians are not all good. In history of DC Comics, there has been a fair share of Guardians who have flat out went evil. And you could still do that. In the past, there could have been many Guardians who have still gone a darker path and have shown it to the universe. But where I would go with this is the council of the Guardians are not all as they seem. Some are genuinely good and some aren't. Picture a Jedi council for a second, where some of the Jedis are all about the Jedi way, some are only about the Republic and winning the war. And just imagine for a second if Sheev Palpatine was not hiding as the Chancellor, Sith in disguise. He was actually posing as a Jedi, Sith in disguise. Those are the types of situations you would be dealing with the actual Guardians of the Universe. There are a lot of dark truths that you could learn about not just them currently, but the things the Guardians had to go through in the past. Making the Manhunters was maybe deemed necessary for a particular situation they were in, and then they lost control of them, which has left not just Eastmalt, but many other planets over the course of millions of years destroyed and everyone dead. There's an idea that I played around with that maybe the Green Lantern Corps is not the only lantern ring that was created by the Owens. Perhaps they created the rings of all the other sanctions, and some got carried away with the power, which resulted in maybe something like Orange. When Atrocitus sees the vision of the future with the Blackest Night event, he actually sees that Necron, the ruler of the Black Lantern Corps, he's originally a Guardian of the Universe who now serves as a Guardian of the Darkness. This is something that would hit close to home for the Guardians. As we have seen in history before, they do tend to be a very secretive and very private people. They don't always tell everyone the truth. Knowing that a Guardian of the Universe has fallen to darkness, not just any darkness, a darkness that could swallow an entire universe, that is definitely not something they would want to tell anyone, especially the Green Lanterns. They do not want any confidence shaken on their ability to lead. I also had this idea that possibly Atrocitus even learned something. The power of all these Lantern Corps don't even come from their universe. They come from a different universe in the multiverse and happens to find itself here. Millions, billions of years ago, the Owens found ways, were technological enough to understand and learn how to harness these abilities. But that's not necessarily written in stone for this story. It was just an idea. Regardless, I think Atrocitus's plan would be working out even if he doesn't defeat the Guardians of the Universe, because when he exposes certain truths to Green Lantern, and when those truths spread around as if they're rumors to the rest of the Green Lantern Corps, there is going to be a lot of doubt on the Guardians of the Universe, and there's going to be a huge shake in confidence. And even though Atrocitus is the villain, very, very deep His underlying motivation, more so than killing the Guardians of the Universe, is to out the truth of which they have been hiding for the past however many millions of years. And what else you could do with this after making Atrocitus and the Red Lantern Corps a much deeper part of this DC universe? You could transition this for the future to other Lantern Corps that are hiding in different pockets of the universe. The occurrence of Atrocitus and the Red Lanterns officially pushing back against a Green Lantern, perhaps something that has never happened in quite some time. It is almost as if the event with Atrocitus has awakened all the other Lanterns in the universe, who all start to pay more attention to their surroundings. And most importantly, this would be building up Sinestro discovering the Ring of Fear. And then for Green Lantern, Hal, John, or whoever it is, they will also start to see that the universe was already big when they were introduced to the Green Lantern Corps, but they're now going to see how wildly vast it truly is. So there it is, my first ideal villain of Green Lantern and the story that goes along with it. I always think it is very important that for Green Lanterns, their relationships, whether it be good or bad, is very connected to other Lantern Corps around the universe and what it means for the rest of the universe as well. Because these factions are so powerful, I like to think that the rest of the universe has a lot riding with them. So with that being said, let me know in the comments below what you thought of my story, and also let me know what villain you would particularly choose for your story. But that is all I have for you on this one, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed it, and until the next time, I will talk to you all very soon.